It's not quite Battletech, but it's not quite wrong either. We're trying Alpha Strike. In this 400-ish BV allotment, we are bringing in about a star and a half of mechs for the Jade Falcon, while our mercenary buddy has brought in an entire company of mechs. In this first game of Alpha Strike, we are using an abbreviated form of the formation rules. We're all moving by formation, where I have separated out myself into really small stars of a Recon Lance with their associated mechs, an Assault Lance consisting of the Supernova, the Massacre, and the Drakina, and a Cavalry Lance with the Mad Cat, Vulture, and Nova. My buddy has done the same with a Light Lance consisting of their relative units, an Assault Lance, and a Medium Lance. But since he's working at a smaller point scale, he actually gets to field an entire lance for each section of his company. I do admit I really enjoy the scale of Alpha Strike, having the ability to put out a lot of units in a normal-ish game at 400 BV. This is supposed to be kind of normal. But as you can see, the Inner Sphere are pushing forward with just about everything they can into this wooded glade right here, while my Assault Star is moving up very slowly up the road over here, being vanguarded by the Scout mechs. Early shots are fruitless as a lot of long-range fire goes flying into the woods, but the Cavalry Lance knows better as they bead in on that Enforcer, open up with everything, and the Vulture manages to tag him, dealing quite a bit of damage. The Death Dealer's Medium Lance begins skirmishing. They do not want to try to engage the Cavalry Lance mano a mano, but they're going to try to make some sort of firing line in the woods while they send the Dervish, I do believe, to jump over into the river. Again, in Alpha Strike, this isn't really that much of a problem. He continues moving forward, trying to get some of his other lighter assets to try to make a flank on the southern end of the board. I respond in kind by moving the Assault Lance up the middle, trying to, keep my own Light Lance a little bit further back in the initiative track to try to respond to anything that he might be doing. And he does try to push his Light Lance up forward, as you can see when the Assassin tries jumping around. Cicada starts swinging wide as he moves the Wraith, and I do believe the Spider down here on the bottom to try to open up that flank. Of course, that's actually an engagement I'll take. His lance is actually split up into two separate sections, so we're going to try to split the pie, as the terminology sometimes is used in miniature wargaming like this, and we're going to focus everything onto that Spider, trying to get our Light Lance to take him out in one turn, if at all possible. The clan assault mechs continue to pummel the Inner Sphere forces in front of them in the woods. This isn't necessarily an exchange that I would normally advise in any game. I mean, he's kind of dug in the woods, and I'm just kind of lumbering out there in the open. But the way the rules are written, and we're still trying to figure this all out, he's still having to deal with the woods interface mods, because we read it as it has to be intervening terrain. The only way that it can not affect him and me is if he's right on the edge. So for this turn, it's okay, but we got to do something about that. That's just a lesson learned here. But the Death Dealers continue to double down on their investment over on the northern end as the medium mechs begin moving again over into the woods, sending the Dervish way into the woods, having the Apollo try to chase him, and even send the Catapult over to respond, while we have the entire Cavalry Lance, the Nova, the Mad Cat, and the Vulture over there, just making a mess of things. And having the previous turn, the Vulture decided to make them one fewer as the Enforcer bites it to, again, another successful shot off the Vulture. But they seem to think that they can feel the ropes and take them on, so it's going to be 3 mechs on 3. Jade Falcon assault mechs continue to learn their lesson as they start parking themselves on the edge of the woods, and in a weird twist of fate, the Turkina's jump jet seems to be useful, making a little bit extra maneuverability through the woods to get in there into a position that it can actually shoot Clan Light Lance didn't seem to make much use of being able to kill the spider, so they back off, having now the threat of the entire Inner Sphere forces and a whole 5 mechs. We're not actually going to engage that at all. We're going to step back and, in a freak opportunity, decide to go ahead and send the Vixen in. As you can see right here, he is swinging wide. He's going to find his target, and again, he slices the pie, and he finds a way to engage the Wraith in such a way that he can't even shoot back. Inner Sphere Marauder in the woods decides to overheat, hitting on 8s and completely misses. Meanwhile, he gets a whole face full of fire from 3 Clan Assault Mechs, rendering him not inoperable, but probably willing to reconsider his position. Meanwhile, on the northern end of the board, a whole lot of whiffs, as the entire Clan Cavalry Star decides to hit the broadside of a barn on another planet, apparently, because there's just... Oh man, this is just one of those things that in normal Battletech, the Dervish up here would have gotten hit by something by just sheer statistical weight. But nonetheless, well, we're just going to shove our laser death porch right down his throat. Having lost the initiative this turn, though, we couldn't really force the direction in which we're going to be engaging him. And he jumps behind the lance, and he's going to live one more turn. But we do get to pick off the rest of his friends, like the bushwhacker over here waddling through the water. The southern end of the board is actually looking very precarious for Clan Jade Falcon, as we have the entire flank held up with just a Vixen, and he's got the Owens, the Assassin, the Cicada, the Wraith, the Spider, all willing to engage. I'm not really going to engage him too much. I'm just going to bait him back so that he can engage the Assault Mechs, and hopefully the Assault Mechs will have taken care of their problems in kind, and if anything, the secondary solution to this strategy is to just bounce back behind the woods in such a way that the Assault Mechs have to spend a turn or two out to engage. And the Assault Mechs have a whole turn or two engaging the Light Mechs. And just as I predicted, he sicks the Light Mechs down on the Vixen. The Vixen's going to make a defiant stand with his pulse laser, pew, 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 and do everything that he can to hold them off. While the rest of the Light Mechs, notated here, we have sent off to deal with the Mercenary Catapult. We're going to send them deep into the Mercenary rear lines. This Starcore Industries battle mech is known for both punching holes and exploiting them, having earned its reputation in both mercenary units and the Solaris arenas, and in small unit actions out in the Orient. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's the Carronade! It's one of the cooler, newer units. The model is pretty frickin' sweet. And as the fuming Marauder tries desperately to hold off the Clan Assault Star, we separated out the units over here, and we decide to focus fire onto them, hopefully averaging out the die roll somewhere that we're going to deal enough damage to put down the Marauder, and we do, causing the Assault Lance to be down a significant amount of firepower for an exchange of almost no damage. And as the Vixen doubles back, desperately trying to hold off a Lance with their +1 attendant, the Vixen goes down, unable to repel firepower of that magnitude, and ends up buying one for the team as the mercenaries, they finally get their first kill of the game, taking down a Vixen for an exchange for losing a Marauder and the Enforcer. Meanwhile, in the woods to the north, the Cavalry Lance is still tasked with taking care of those Inner Sphere mediums, and they can't seem to hit the broadside of a barn. Again, if this is Battletech, I mean, I'm all about averaging out my die rolls. So that, I'm rolling a bunch of stuff. I can get average damage going down. But having everything pinned to one die roll, it's making this feel a little hit or miss. But admittedly, it plays a lot faster. I mean, in the end, the damage is about right. So as the mercenaries have lost the initiative this turn, the medium lance begins pulling back, running back across the river, trying to hide behind the rocks, and I immediately let the cavalry take their initiative turn right after them and just hose them up. Just do everything they can to try to focus as much firepower onto one of the little bastards to finally make their presence worthwhile. I mean, not counting killing the Enforcer earlier. Light Lance, still feeling their oats, no longer willing to kill the catapult, which they managed to put in forced withdrawal by just driving home, assumingly a lot of laser fire into his back, decides to go ahead and go deep, deep, deep into the back of the mercenary lines, now threatening the Axeman, and now the light units that are doubling back to try to help protect him. Otherwise, the Assault Lance for the mercenaries is going to have to collapse completely under the weight of just a Locust and a Fire Falcon. That'd be embarrassing, right? But not to be outdone with such shenanigans, the Inner Sphere Wraith leaps through the woods and decides to land behind the Assault Lance. Again, given how the fire arcs work in Alpha Strike, he's kind of safe for now. We digress into the rules just a little to see if moving, if I can change my facing and not count as moving. But no, we eventually just digressed a little over it and decided, okay, we'll just take the movement mod. We'll turn the Turkina around, crash through the woods, and go ahead and light that Wraith up. We're going to let the Supernova still shoot at the targets it can see. It is, however, interesting to note that my copy of Alpha Strike is completely different from Coinflip's Alpha Strike. It has a lot of different stuff in it, and I apparently got one of the bum printings, so buyer beware. It's missing all kinds of things like staying still for hit mod and stuff like that. Exchange of fire between the Supernova and the Axeman proves fruitful for the Supernova as the Supernova strips off quite a bit of armor. Fire Falcon and Locust continues to press home that advantage, while they in return receive a piddling amount of exchange, just proving that if you move in the initiative just right and avoid the firing lanes where you can, you're going to do fine. I do kind of like that feel in Alpha Strike. Meanwhile, the Clan Cavalry Lance continues to aptly hit deft air as, I don't know. They in return managed to also hit almost nothing, so it's going both ways. But having lost the initiative this turn, we throw the Clan Light Lance back. We can't afford to stick around out there, not when he has so many fast movers that can respond. So I picked the only place in which he can't get back shots on him and hopefully keep all the shots into medium range. Or if he decides to put something into medium short range to get rid of them, they're going to be within biting distance of the Clan Cavalry Lance. But as you move that unit forward, I'm forced to move the Assault Lance, and this is one of those finicky, weird, gamey kind of things with Alpha Strike. I'm trying to protect myself because the Wraith has yet to move, and I want to be able to shoot him again. And I have nothing else in my initiative ticks to respond to that. So they're kind of moved forward, pointed at each other, and then I moved the Massacari in such a way that he's backed up against a wall so that nothing can get behind him. Or at least I thought, as the Wraith immediately jumps right behind him. So, I tried. But seeing as shooting things isn't their forte, I decided to move the Cavalry Lance back. We're crossing back across the river. We're going to make them go back over towards the Assault Lance. We're going to have them at least make a threatening display against the Wraith to get rid of it. Because at this point, I've wisely pointed out to my buddy Coinflip that the Wraith is an awesome design. And he took the advice, and now he's just jabbing it right into my side over and over like some crudely made shiv. It's painful. But the river has turned into a complete mess. As the Inner Sphere has successfully pushed off the clan intrusion, we're now doubling back. The Cavalry Lance is trying to do everything that they can to try to amend their situation. Having also been repelled by the Inner Sphere mediums, it has come to a head over at this little bridgehead, and we got to protect the rear lines right behind this hill. But for the Recon Lance for Jade Falcon, it seems to be just a little, too late, as the Locust bites it to combine fire from lance and a half of different items. Again, focus fire seems to be the rigueur du jour of this game. Again, we just gotta, you're just trading one set of die rolls for multiple units getting the same thing. Know what I mean? Nova continues to do everything it can to push down the Bushwhacker. He is overheating at this point, having chosen in the previous turn to light up the night sky, but water has a very interesting effect in Alpha Strike, that it cools off the mech, which is surprisingly, despite the fiction, not something that actually happens in Battletech that often. Kudos to Alpha Strike for actually simulating that. Mercenary Wraith pilot, having gotten on the comms and realized that his death was imminent, decides to go ahead and push back, jumping into the woods into a position that he thinks is safe. But unfortunately, just like the turn prior, he hasn't actually moved much further than what the assault mechs moved from the turn previously. So they're just going to turn around and give him back the same kind of justice he's been dealing out. So huzzah for the cavalry mechs. They did something. And kind of an abstract notion. But the mercenaries have realized their tactical situation. The defilade that hill provides is actually incredibly valuable, and they can signal out my units without having to deal with the assault mechs for a turn. So they begin moving everything that they can over in such a way that they can engage the clan units as they're trying to pull back. And as the Wraith here leaps away in his sweat-drenched cockpit trying to evade his imminent demise, he turns his targeting computer on to realize that those bastards chased him into the woods. A Turkina, a Supernova, and a Massacari have some very cruel words to exchange for him. And if this was normal Battletech, that Warhawk C would have lit him up a few new exhaust ports. Clan cavalry mechs begin exchanging all kinds of fire with their skirmishing units out there, killing the Bushwhacker, but losing the Fire Falcon in the exchange, and the assault mechs rip open that poor Wraith, with all three of them, if memory serves, connecting and killing that poor bastard. And that's about where we called it, as the store was closing, and they had already graciously gave us an extra 30 minutes to continue playing. It's interesting to note that last turn only took about 6 minutes to play, which is fantastic. That's an incredible improvement over Battletech. And at the end, the death toll for the mercenaries was the Enforcer, Marauder, Bushwhacker, Wraith, and Catapult for the loss on Jade Falcon of just the Fire Falcon, Locust, and the Vixen. They had lost their entire Light Lance, but they had lost quite a bit more, especially when you consider BV. I'd caution to say that I had lost some of the tactical initiative. Having lost the Light Lance, I could no longer negotiate the speed at which the game was played, but I was definitely at better standing than what my buddy Coinflip was, and after the game we had admitted that the Jade Falcon was in a better condition to continue the game. So that's a Jade Falcon win. Alpha Strike's okay. I still need to get a couple more games underneath my belt before I can make any kind of confident calling on it, but this is pretty good. I mean, I think we went like 14, 15 turns. It's pretty cool. This has been an Ouchies Batrep, and thanks for watching. It was only like 2 hours.
They are different. What the heck?
Wow.
Whoa.
Somebody got a revised printing. Who did?
You must have. I got mine from.
Because yours was just ordered.
Yeah, I just bought
I got mine from. I'll have to look them up. They sell all kinds of Battletech stuff. I pimped their name on a couple times.
2013.
This is 2013. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This is really different.
2015.
You've got the revised one. I got an older book. It's probably the next page.
Hope so.
Nope.
That's annoying.
That's very annoying. Determine.
Should be in the movement rules, right?
You'd think. That's why I kept glossing over it. So let's go to the glossary.
There.
Okay, I said let's go to the glossary.
I don't think there is one.
That's what it's like. I think there may not. It's really sad that there isn't, because there should really be. It has all the
No,
appendices.
it's describing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's got all your tables and stuff, but
Yeah, that's really annoying.
That's.
Okay, here's some start unit stats.
you're
This
still
is line of sight.
combat
This is
phase.
Jumping, transporting infantry, extended. Vertical
There is no
takeoff,
appendices in this book, which is really annoying.
Aerospace, movement on pavement. It talks about ground movement here. Crippling, stacking, protomech,